session of banking and insurance. We are pleased to have Mr. Navneet Anand as our speaker. He is the national head for MBA division at Career Launcher. He has more than 16 years of experience in banking and education domain. Also, he is an alumnus of NMIMS, a well-renowned institute for management education in India, batch of 2002. Now, without further ado, I will turn the time over to our speaker, Mr. Navneet Anand. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Navneet sir, are you there?
I'm saying a string of apologies to everyone.
Sir, you are not audible. Sir, you are not audible.
Hello. Hi, Amar. Am I audible? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's a comedy of errors in the beginning. So that makes up a fun session. Any which ways, fair enough, guys. So first of all, I just want to reiterate, which you guys couldn't hear, is that a string of apologies from my side, as this session was supposed to happen last Sunday, but couldn't happen because of some circumstances out here. So I'll definitely make up for that, and will give you a brief insight into two most important industries of financial sector. This is one part of financial sector which has an absorption across streams of students. So whether you belong to a physics honors, whether you belong to an economics honors or a commerce background or an art background, the absorption of banking and insurance it's a kind of a sponge which absorbs talent across the spectrum of students. Let me get rid of this. Gagan, Deep, am I audible correctly now? Amisha, Charya, Jain, Amar, am I audible to you guys? You could just put it on the chat box. Fair enough, Gagan. So let's begin it from here. My dear friends, this is one domain of mine which I have been part for close to 14 years. So I have been a banker for 14 years across the geography of Delhi, whether you talk about South Delhi or North Delhi or Western part of Delhi. And to some extent for a year or so, I've been also worked in the Eastern part of Delhi also, and been the branch manager as well as a senior branch manager, and retired as an assistant vice president with Kotak Mahindra Bank. So it's like the love for education, the passion for education has brought me to Career Launcher. Okay, fair enough, Amisha. So it's like it's been this. Hello, now I'm getting apologies. Okay, fair enough. It's okay. So guys, forget everything. Please concentrate on these two important topics, because whatever I'll be speaking, a small portion of it, maybe a 10 to 20%, maybe 20%, will be available on internet domain if you want to find it across YouTube, across any Google search or any kind of a search or Siri, whatever you call it. But whatever I'll be discussing for the major part of my session, more than 70 to 80%, will be purely on the basis of my experiences in these two sectors. So what I will be having a very heart-to-heart discussion with you on this particular topic. So it's just that you need to be a sort of a person. Just listen to very carefully. So we'll be starting in this particular session. We'll be starting on excuse me, there is someone, if you could please take it in the chat box. There's some trouble going on. The moderator at the college, Please,
Sir, I'm looking into it.
somebody's getting into a trouble. So please help that person out. Fair enough. So it's friends. As I told you, this entire session is all about banking, which is usually not on the internet domain, but it's like the entire structure of the session will be, yes, for 10 to 15 minutes to maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes max, we'll be talking about the historical perspective and the kind of scenario we have in the banking right now till now. What are the different changes that have taken place? The number two will be also talking about the kind of profile that usually, you know, the people, the professionals in the banking are being sought for, as well as for the insurance sector also. And number three, the third part of the session will be dedicated towards how to get into those important positions as far as banking is concerned. So just a quick in a chat box, if you can mention which particular year that you belong to and which course that you're pursuing in Dolathram College. Can I have that in a chat box, please? I would just request everyone. So BCom third year, that's Radhika says, okay. What about others? Gagan is in second year. Riddhi is in BCom honors second year. Charya Jain is BCom first year. Okay. So predominantly it's commerce background people who are there. Akanksha Jain, 12 commerce. I suppose it's a second year commerce that you're trying to say. Okay. Fair enough. Anyone else? Surbhi says she's in BCom honors second year. Fair enough, guys. So it's most predominantly from the commerce background. That's what Ishika also mentions out here. So let's straight away formally begin this session. And since most of you, and I suppose all of you belong to the commerce background, so it makes more sense to straight away you can relate with many things out here. So we start with State Bank of India, right? It's currently at rank 236 amongst the Fortune 500 companies, and it was a derivative from Imperial Bank, which was formed in 1921, which in turn was being formed by the merger of three banks, which was Bank of Calcutta, Bank of Bombay, Bank of Madras, and it was renamed as State Bank of India after independence in 1955. Now, the key thing to understand is that we all understand that Reserve Bank of India is a banker's bank, right? So it is like a regulator for all the banking in India, whether it's scheduled banks or non-scheduled banks. But key thing to remember is that State Bank of India, a PSU, does not comes under the purview of Reserve Bank of India. That does not mean the other public sector undertaking banks or the PSU banks or the government banks that we call it, they don't come under purview of RBI. It's just that SBI does not come under the purview of RBI. ये आपको कोई नहीं बताएगा. So we'll just leave SBI there and there. We'll talk about Reserve Bank of India. In 1934, Reserve Bank of India Act came into operation, and 1949, because of the Banking Regulation Act, RBI became the regulator of everyone, which is called the Bankers Bank. So what actually happened, guys, that just to give you a historical perspective, banking as an industry or banking as a practice. So people who say banking as an industry is a kind of a misnomer. It's actually a practice. The real name for any bank is lender. So in good newspapers or in good articles or in good magazine, you will never see someone like banking. You'll say lender. So the lending or the banking as a practice essentially began in the 14th century in Europe. And there is one specific area, geographical area of our country, that is the Malabar coast, wherein the entire Indian banking actually started from there. Now, what's the reason? Because most of the European trading companies at that point of time, they used to come to Malabar coast to to trade for the spices from here. And whenever they used to meet the traders here or the farmers here, they used to exchange information. And from there on, things started. So कहते हैं वहाँ की मिट्टी में ही कुछ है, and you'll see one of the finest bankers also coming from that particular region. Prominent among them is Mr. K.V. Kamath, who was ex-chairman of ICICI Bank. So we'll talk about that later. But after partition, almost half of the Indian banks were present in the Malabar coast. And yes, they had their own practices, their own regulations. So what Indira Gandhi, the former prime minister, they did was that despite the fact that these banks were reporting it to RBI, but they were not lending money to the priority sector, which was required for the growth of the Indian economy. The Indian Prime Minister at that point of time, Srimati Indira Gandhi, what she did was that she took 14 private banks that were big private banks that were there at that point of time. She nationalized them. So it's like it increased the government stake in them. They became PSUs, or the public sector undertakings. And in the year further 1980, further 6 more private banks came into the purview of the government. That means they become PSU, or the percentage share of the government rose up to 51% in all of them. So it's a known fact that Indian banks do not fail. So friends, as I told you, I'll be giving you some historical perspective into it, and because this is very important, keeping in mind that why it is one of the most noble professions in India, and why it is one of the most highly paid professions in India. It's because of the no nonsense attitude. It's a known fact that Indian banks do not fail, never fail. इसका बहुत simple reason है. There's a strict policing of Reserve Bank of India at the top, which ensures, because of the slew of measures, that these banks, they maintain the sanctity, and they are all in all focused towards ensuring that they are doing their basic job of lending to where it actually matters the most. So there are close to 8 to 10 slew of measures that Reserve Bank of India it actually takes to ensure that Indian banks never fail. Just a sec. So that Indian banks never fail, but I'll be discussing 2 of them, which is, the first one is the cash reserve ratio, and the second one is the repo rate. Now, you must have read about the textbook definition of CRR, and in the internet also, kind of a thing. But I would say it's basically, if I just set aside the rote learning, essentially the cash reserve ratio is basically an amount of money, out of the total deposits of one particular bank, the percentage of it that it needs to keep it with Reserve Bank of India. Now, it ensures that banks comply to it, but there are certain economic reasons for doing it. So as to ensure that liquidity is maintained, and to curb the inflation, and to curb the huge inflow of currency into the system, because whether it's about the supply of the currency, whether in the excess amount or in the lesser amount, both of them are detrimental to Indian economy. So as to ensure there's a fine balance between it, RBI has stated that all the banks, they need to keep a sizable portion of their deposit with the RBI. Now, the sizable portion ranges from as less as 3% to as max as 20%, right? So it all depends upon the macroeconomic variables during that point of time, and Ministry of Finance always has a keen eye through its experts on all the banks, especially through Reserve Bank of India, so as to ensure that proper money supply is maintained in the system. Same way, you have a repo rate, the rate at which the central bank of country, that means RBI, lends money to the commercial banks. So it's again to ensure there's a proper supply. It should not be excess, it should not be lower, to ensure that banks के हाथ में इतना freedom नहीं देता है RBI, because अगर बैंक को अपना चलाने को किया तो कुछ उसके pitfalls भी होते हैं. And let me give you a very simple example. In the year 2008, entire world witnessed something called subprime crisis. They originated in US. In fact, they were endemic to US itself. और कहीं नहीं हुए थे. US में subprime crisis हुए थे when we saw that the entire real estate sector just got busted in US because of the wrong practices of lending money. Right? It is very unfortunate that a strong system called Federal Reserve in US failed to identify huge market players like Wells Fargo and Goldman Sachs, and they were lending money like crazy to the people. So people were actually building property of their property of theirs, but there was actually not enough investor. The actual investment going around was next to none, but everything was on paper, and they were actually deploying the loophole that was present in the banking at that point of time. So that is why we saw Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo getting failed at that point of time, and they were huge names. If I compare them to even SBI, SBI does not stand any chance with respect to the names that I've just spoken to you about. But they failed because their regulator, which was Federal Reserve, failed to check because of there was no actually measures that were present at that point of time. So I've just mentioned 2 measures, but there are some 8 other measures through which RBI ensures that proper balance between how much to lend and how much to take is always there. Now, Indian banking sector is basically divided into 2. First is scheduled banks and the non-scheduled banks. So all the banks which are present in the second schedule of RBI Act, all the PSUs, the private banks, the RRBs or the regional rural banks, they come under the scheduled banking. Also, National Banking for Agriculture and Rural Development, which is NABARD, which offers facilities like microfinance, which most of the commercial banks do not offer. They are also come under the purview of scheduled banks. Now, we need to basically concentrate on this word called commercial. The RBI gives licenses to any bank since beginning on the basis of 2 premises. Number 1, they are supposed to make profit. That means they are supposed to generate money for the government. Number 1. Number 2, they are supposed to take banking to the huge masses of India, because if I say Abhi, there is half of the Indian population does not have access to the banking. Now, RBI lately has taken a series of steps that I'll be discussing in the slides, जहाँ पे employment opportunities भी बहुत हैं. Lekin a key word to understand over here is a microfinance, because most of the businesses, successful businesses, actually start from rural areas. Now, Amul being one example, which is like daddy long years back. But after Amul, there have been slew of cooperatives and many small businesses in those sectors of economy जहाँ पे actually में investment होती नहीं है, right? So, for example, handicrafts or maybe sort of thing, वहाँ पे finance नहीं पहुँच पाता है. लेकिन that when it is being projected into the international market, it brings about a lot of revenues for India in terms of exports. So, reaching out to finance those industries and sectors is the responsibility of banks like NABARD and everyone. So what actually happened, if I talk about the NEO scenario or maybe the recent scenario, we saw after liberalization of economy in 91-92, after that, in 1994, ICICI Bank was formed after the reverse merger of ICICI and ICICI Corporation. Then HDFC Bank was formed in 1994 again. UTI started banking operation at similar point of time. It was renamed as Axis Bank that we all see it right now, along with some other banks like IndusInd and all. And the latest bank which was launched, the commercial bank which was launched, was Bandhan Bank in 2015. जिसकी कई branches आप अपने neighborhood में भी देखते हो. Now, what these banks did was that they came out with superior customer delivery at first. Now this is still debatable, but the way they started was that the way in which they projected was that the key differentiation between them and a public sector bank was that they bought lending to a very they reached out to retail customers, right? So for example, it was very difficult to take car loan from a public sector bank, usually in the late 80s or the early 90s. So likes of ICICI and HDFC, with lending being their primary objective, they reached out to these masses. और उसका effect आप आज तक देख रहे हो. For example, if you go to Croma or Vijay Sales or so, you say now even something like 8,000 or 7,000, 9,000 rupees की चीज भी आज की तारीख में finance होती है. So that means they actually went out to the last mile as far as lending is concerned. Earlier, the lending was supposed to be for the niche category, but ICICI, HDFC, and Axis, they took banking to the masses, and they also came out with a huge number of ATMs. They came out with operations with respect to in which there are very much emphasis on customer delivery, because they need to win customers and add more customers. Uska result आज की तारीख में ये है, there are 160 commercial banks which are operating in India with 120,000 branches. And as far as reach of the bank is concerned, RBI has done a great job of reaching out to 12,000 people per bank. As far as India is concerned, it's one of the biggest industries/sectors of economy, employing more than 13 lakh people at present. this is a market share after consolidation of, the last consolidation that we saw, in which the Punjab National Bank, Oriental Bank of Commerce, and United Bank, they merged to become a single entity. Same happened with no 6-7 other banks also. They merged to become a single entity. Now this is called consolidation of banking industry. A consolidation is very much important, friends. If you just Google it, that top 10 banks of the world, 3 to 4 banks जो सिर्फ पहले आएंगे वो सिर्फ चाइना के आएंगे. So what we are starting right now, China has already done 20 years back. They went for a consolidation. Consolidation का फायदा क्या होता है? The advantages of consolidation is that the operations of bank become very, very smooth in terms of the number of branches, right? So there is a synergy in terms of when one or two or three banks, they merge with each other, the reach becomes far more. As a single entity is concerned, there is uniformity, and the banking actually reaches to the masses. This is the reason why China was able to take banking to its huge number of people, while India is still struggling. But we have somehow unlocked it, and now because of the consolidation, the banking is actually reaching up to masses. So this is the market share for your reference, and it is heartening to see a private sector bank being the number 3rd, and this financial year it is set to take the number 2 spot. That is HDFC Bank. A banking license. You will be surprised to see that likes of Ambani's, the like of Birla's, or the likes of all the major houses, for example, major conglomerates like Larsen & Toubro, they are missing out on licenses. But somebody called a Bandhan, you never heard about that kind of an organization. It was an NBFC. It got licensed. The biggest reason is that RBI looks out for many things while doling out licenses. And the number one is, as far as NBFC is concerned, the number of customers you are actually carrying on with. So if I talk about Bandhan, it already had a customer base of 1 crore to 2 crore people from Bihar and Bengal who were its customers as a non-banking financial company. So it was easy for Reserve Bank of India to reach up to such a huge number of masses, because that was one region जहाँ तक अभी banking नहीं पहुंची थी. So that is why RBI overlooked these big houses, corporate houses, and gave license to an entity called Bandhan Bank. Also, RBI was very much pleased with the performance of the private banks which were launched in the early 90s, like HDFC Bank. You might have not heard about it, but it's a known fact that for continuous 27 quarters, which is equivalent to more than 7 years, HDFC on every quarter gave profit of 25% and above, right? You please ask your elders in your home if they are having HDFC Bank shares. They will tell you the reason. It's not because of any reason why HDFC Bank shares perform so well in the market. But what actually happened that इससे खुश होकर RBI ने 2 banks को बहुत जल्दी license दिए. सबसे पहला दिया Kotak Mahindra Bank को in 2003, and then to the Centurion Bank. But Kotak gave a stunted growth, and Centurion Bank got merged with Bank of Punjab and ultimately HDFC Bank, and then it got shut down. So RBI was pissed off at that point of time, and it pulled its plug on giving out licenses. उसके बाद जाके 2015 में RBI ने license दिए नए banks को in the form of Bandhan. Now, in order to go for reach, RBI also launched the payments bank. You must have known about Airtel Payment Bank or India Post Payments Bank or Paytm Payments Bank. These were being launched. Okay, HDFC shares, Gagan. HDFC grew at a very fast pace as far as banking was concerned among its peers. So in fact, ICICI and HDFC, they started off like crazy as far as the growth was concerned, but HDFC was able to sustain that growth for a pretty long period of time, and that is why the shares, when जब पहली बार HDFC का IPO आया होगा, उसके बाद FPOs आए होंगे, तब से किसी के पास इतने पुराने शेयर होंगे, आज की तारीख में वो बंदे करोड़पति अरबपति हैं. मैं आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ. Aditya Puri, who was the chairman and managing director of HDFC Bank, he retired. He'll be retiring now. So his personal wealth of all his shares that he unlocked 90% of his shares just recently. That tent amounted to 890 CR. Now you can imagine, right? And he owns a fraction के भी fraction of shares that he owns as far as HDFC Bank is concerned. So people made a lot of money. So we'll have discussion on this, but let's stay on track on this. Payments Bank. So what is HDFC Twins? HDFC Limited is a non-banking financial company, and HDFC Bank is a bank. One comes under Companies Act, the other comes under RBI Act. आगे है आर्यानी, अभी आप देखिएगा. So Payments Bank were launched because Reserve Bank of India wanted to tap the potential of telecommunication giants so as to ensure कि वहां तक भी rural, semi-urban, semi-rural areas तक भी reach पहुंचे. So that is why you see Airtel Payments Bank, Fino Payments Bank, Paytm Payments Bank, Aditya Birla Idea Payments Bank, they were launched. Now they are called banks, but they are not doing the primary function of bank, which is to lend. So they cannot give loans, they cannot give credit cards. Also, they can also only take deposits up to 1 lakh. Now there's a very strong reasoning behind it. Likes of Airtel or Aditya Birla Idea, whatever, they are also telecommunication companies. So in order to ensure कि कहीं भी conflict of interest ना हो telecom और banking में, उनको अभी lend करने से मना किया गया है, right? इसके एवज में what RBI did was that it launched small finance banks. In the year 2016, it launched 10 small finance banks. You must have come across these kind of banks which look like shops, big shops like AU Small Finance Bank, Capital Small Finance Bank, Equitas, Ujjivan, Utkarsh, Jana Small Finance Bank. If you ever been to South X Part 2, वहाँ पे Jana Small Finance Bank की आपने branch देखी होगी. So it's like these are banks which were being launched with an objective so that banking reach to those masses who have still not got banking. So for all unbanking regions. So the first condition on the basis of which RBI gave license to these entities was that they got to open at least 25% of their branches in those regions, right? जहां तक अभी scheduled banks नहीं पहुंचे हैं. Also, 75% of the loans got to be given to only and only priority sector, and 50% of the loans should be less than 25 lakhs so as to keep a check on the NPA levels. Now, these are new banks. उनको समाज सेवा तो करनी है, लेकिन साथ साथ में they got to make profits also. So in the garb of profit, sometimes these entities, they have this proclivity of doling out loans to the entities which may be of spurious origins. So in order to check on that, कि NPAs ना बन जाए आगे जाके, they cannot dole out loans for more than 25 lakhs. So there is a cap on it. For every kind of a bank, you have a customer redressals, grievance redressal body. The first one being Banking Codes and Standards Board of India, and the other one is an Ombudsman Scheme of 1995. Now, BCSBI does not come under purview of RBI or a government. It's an independent and autonomous banking industry body, usually of retired ex-bankers, but they have full powers to go into any branch of any bank, whether a private bank or a public sector bank, any point of time during the banking hours, and take interview of branch manager or a branch operation manager. If branch manager or a branch operation manager fails to give a right answer, and usually these questions are related to the normal banking practices. So what BCSBI does is that it does spot audits. Now, spot audits are done to understand whether the people who are running these branches, whether it's a branch manager or a branch operation manager, do they even know what the banking is all about? Galat hiring to nahi hogi, right? So they do such kind of spot audits. And the second scheme is that you have an ombudsman, right? So let's say if you are unsatisfied with any service of the bank, or you feel that you have been shortchanged or cheated by a bank or a body, then you can take up with the bank. If you don't get a satisfactory answer, then you can reach up to the ombudsman. Usually the time given is 60 days. Within 60 days, your case is getting sorted out, and it listens to both of them, the bank people also and the customer also. So these measures are being always at place to ensure that you always get the quality services in India. Now, there are a few things which happened in the last 2 decades, which you should know it as a, as a customer or as a person who uses banking. So in 80s and 90s, MICAR adoption started. What is MICAR? MICAR is magnetic ink character recognition. So if you see a check, right? Check may, at the bottom of a check on the left hand side, you have a 6-digit number. That is a check number. After that, there is a space and then there is a 9-digit number, right? In that 9-digit number is actually the identity of the check. That means the first 3 digits of that 9-digit number refers to the bank's code. So every bank has its own unique code. SBI has its own unique code. Bank of Baroda has its own unique code. HDFC, ICICI, Kotak Mahindra, everyone have their own unique 3-digit code, followed by the city code, which city that particular belongs to, and then followed by the branch code in that particular city. So this is a way of identifying a check apart from the check number. So computerization started, and then you started having something called electronic fund transfer. So you were not required to stay at a bank for a long period of time to ensure कि आपका electronic आपका fund transfer, everything was electronic, everything was digitally done. And then something called started was check truncation system in 2008. Now, what is the meaning of CTS? A check truncation system means initially what used to happen was that, let's say आपको किसी ने चेक दिया आपके अकाउंट में डालने के लिए, आपको किसी से पेमेंट मिली. For example, you got a payment worth, let's say 30,000 or a 1,50,000, 1 lakh, whatever, in your name, and you wanted to get that credited in your account. You'll go to the bank's branch, you'll drop that check, और अगले दिन सुबह या उसी दिन दोपहर को एक भैया जी एक पूरा चेक का बोरा लेके क्लियरिंग हाउस जाते थे. तो मैं आपको अगर एग्जांपल दूं, in Delhi, in KG Marg, Kanchenjunga, there used to be a clearing house. So all the representatives of all the banks, they used to converge at a clearing house, and then manually they used to exchange the checks, right? So for example, if you've got a check from, let's say, Punjab National Bank, और आपका जो अकाउंट है वो SBI में है, तो आपका SBI का बंदा वहां पे पंजाब नेशनल बैंक वाले को आपका चेक देगा. वो पंजाब नेशनल वाला बैंक वाला बंदा अपने उस चेक के माइकर को देख के ब्रांच को इन्फॉर्म करेगा, और वहां से ब्रांच पेमेंट रिलीज करेगा आपके अकाउंट में. आप समझ रहे हो? So this is called a clearing process. Now this was manually done. Lots and lots of mistake used to happen. So what thing was done ki every time your entire check, now there's no one now who goes to the clearing house. Your check is being digitally scanned. Its identity, its amount, everything is being scanned, and it is presented to the clearing, a virtual clearing house, right? And that is the reason that things become so fast now. Therefore, it's a local clearing. आप आज चेक डालो 12 बजे से पहले, next day शाम के 6 बजे के बाद आपके अकाउंट में पैसा क्रेडिट होता है. So these things, these were the slew of measures that were taken very fast by the governments who were at that point of time under the aegis of by RBI, under the aegis of government, and we started. Now comes the critical question: how banks earn money? Obviously, lending. तो एक पुराने ज़माने में जैसे महाजन लोग होते थे, right? Whose only and only business was to lend money and to earn interest. And the second one is to take deposits. Now, just to give a bit insight into the banking, for every 1 lakh, for every 1 lakh rupee in the saving account, a bank earns not more than 1 rupee to 2 rupee. For every, for every 100 rupee in your saving account, bank earns 1 rupee. For every NRI account, saving account in the bank earns almost 2 rupees. For every current account, right? For every 100 rupees of yours in the bank's account, the bank earns 4 to 5 rupees. इसका reason ये है, in current account, banks are not supposed to give you interest, right? In savings account, banks are supposed to give interest to you. Similarly, in fixed deposit, now fixed deposit is a sort of deposit for a bank which is always wanted as well as unwanted, because banks usually earn actually close to nothing as far as fixed deposits are concerned. But it is a necessarily evil for a bank's point of view, because banks need to shore up their books कि उनके books में इतना पैसा पड़ा हुआ है, right? So they need to shore up the books. They need to keep on building their books. That's why FDs are always welcome at the bank, but it's a necessary evil. Banks don't earn much on the FD because bank को भी आगे पैसा बना के आप लोगों को वापस करना होता है. And there is a part of operation through which banks earn a lot of money, that is called transaction income. So for all the services for which you visit the branches, whether making a demand draft or making any foreign transaction or a forex transaction, bank earn a lot of income on them, right? And also banks earn money on the basis of having partnership with some other players who offer you third-party services. So TPP services is third-party products. So first party is you as a customer, second party is a bank, and the third party is, let's say, an insurance player who has a tie-up with a bank. For example, Yes Bank has a tie-up with Max Life Insurance. So if you're a Yes Bank customer, you will be approached by the Max people to take their insurance products. For usually the arrangement is that for every banks usually earn up to 14%, 14%, 14% as far as selling life insurance is concerned, right? So it's a huge amount and it actually earns them making huge profits. So what's there in a typical branch? A typical branch of a bank is usually a profit center. So you have an asset division which doles out loans, mortgages, and credit cards, which is like bank's own money. So it's an asset for a bank. A bank's balance sheet is a very simple. Across industries, across sector, if you want to study balance sheet, the most easiest one is of a bank. Sundry debtors, sundry creditors कुछ होते नहीं. Sundry debtors कौन है जिनसे पैसे लेने हैं, right? वो आपके जितने भी लोगों ने लोन लिए हैं वो उस कैटेगरी में आ जाते हैं. Sundry creditors कौन होते हैं जिनसे आपने पैसे देने हैं. So all the people जिनके आपने डिपॉजिट ले रखा है वो आपके sundry creditors हैं. इसके अलावा कुछ ज्यादा लोग नहीं होते हैं as far as banking balance sheet is concerned. Then you have people who sell third-party products in a typical branch, and the most important functions are operations, audit, and compliance. So it's a part of the way of life of a banker as far as compliance and operations and audit is concerned. And then you have feeder channels in which there is an absorption of CAs, which is the credit department, the treasury operations, and ALM. ALM is asset and liability management. So the most brainiest of the people who belong to the commerce or who come from that side, finance side, they usually occupy the positions in treasury operations and ALM. And then you have audit and compliance as one of the most important functions. But wealth management and investment banking are the two functions in which banks make a lot of money by way of providing their advisory, because they usually cater to the corporates as well as to the top 5% of the wealthy people as far as the population is concerned. Now, what is banking as a career? There are a slew of personality traits which are being required to ensure that you pursue banking as a career. The number one is that you need to be kind of a person who's having a profit-making mindset. That's the biggest thing. Number two, you need to be very comfortable as far as numbers are concerned. You need to go, the calculation should be such that you always need to be on the right side of it as far as profits are concerned. You need to be kind of person who need to have a very aggressive attitude and execution mindset, because as I told you, it's a very no-nonsense career. So the service delivery is concerned, as and when the project has come up to you, you need to deliver it immediately. Also, if a greenfield project is given to you, you need to be the kind of person who should be motivated enough to start from the word go itself. That's what mentioned as far as path breaking or enterprising is concerned. Obviously, because there is too much of a competition, you need to be a person with very extremely great negotiation skills. You need to be a person with a supreme service delivery mindset, because this is one thing that Britishers has taught us as far as banking is concerned. That is why it is one of the most noble profession altogether. But above and all, you need to be the kind of person with utmost integrity. That means no way, whatever happens, you will never compromise with the integrity as far as banking is concerned. So here are the opportunities. You have a retail banking in which usually the customer's relationship size ranges from up to 25 crores. Now, a customer can be a person, it can be a business entity also. So whenever the relationship size, now this, what figures that I've taken, 25 CR, 250 CR and above, these are like the mean figures of almost all the banks. So up to 25 CR, when you work in that particular area, you are supposed to be working in the retail banking. For any relationship size from 25 crore to 250 crore, that means you are catering to the corporate sector now, right? Also, if you are managing a celebrities account, for example, Salman Khan or Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan, again, that comes in a retail banking, but it's something like to the wealth management side of it. And then you have a wholesale banking, which is the pinnacle of banking. Now, in this particular thing, you are not only managing the banking of your client, but also consulting him on various deals. And also you'll be doing for the underwriting for the mergers and acquisitions as far as your client is concerned. So if any one of you who's dreaming of a career in banking, wholesale banking is the one thing that every one of you must target, because it will give you a comprehensive learning as far as and experience as far as the word banking is concerned. Number one. Number two, the most brainiest amongst you, right? I'm very sorry, but it's like now everyone is not with the same kind of an attitude as well as an aptitude, but the most brainiest of fellows, they land up in the treasury operations part of the bank. Now, however, I told you that the balance sheet of a bank is one of the simplest kind, but you need to see the number of entities being involved is of such a high nature कि अगर आपका asset और liability में हल्का सा भी balance इधर से उधर हुआ, the banks will fail. Banks का अपना पैसा कुछ भी नहीं होता है, सारे investors का पैसा लगा होता है एक बैंक में. So as a banker, as a person who is managing the treasury of a bank, you need to be kind of person who is very adept at calculation, who can visualize things as and when the economy is taking changing gears. So you need to respond to that very carefully. The support that you get is from the RBI, but again, you need to be a kind of person who is extremely of high intellect as such treasury operations are concerned. Then investment banking are the people who bring a lot of third-party income for the bank, because they cater to the the what do you call it? Maybe the top strata of the entire population. So investment bankers are very highly paid people. In case you are looking forward to a very highly paid job, then investment banking should be your target. Now, opportunities in a bank, you may start as a clerk or a probationary officer, but if I'm speaking to a Delhi University North Campus student, I would rather say don't go for probationary officers. It's a very simple exam, a very elementary level of general awareness, data interpretation, logical reasoning, verbal reasoning, your language ability, these are being tested. And if you clear the most basic of the test, then you are called for the next stage, which is personal interview. Now, you will see that you have not done justice to yourself when you join as a probationary officer in a public sector bank. But when you join as a management trainee in that public sector bank or in a private bank, if you join as a management trainee, then the world is altogether different. Definitely, there is a level of difference in terms of the pay packets that start for a probationary officer as well as a management trainee. But as a management trainee, you are supposed to lead, you are supposed to take a leadership position within 2 to 3 years in a bank. That means your growth will be very fast. Now, before I go about opportunities more, let me just touch upon the NBFCs. All the non-banking financial companies, they do not report to Reserve Bank of India. They come under Companies Act. There is absolutely no transaction activity. कहीं भी कुछ किसी तरह का कोई transaction नहीं होता है. They do not participate in the clearing house. That means they don't come under Negotiable Instruments Act of India, and they cannot take deposits other than fixed deposit. You must have seen HDFC coming out with a deposit scheme. So HDFC Limited is a red and white logo, whether HDFC Bank is a blue and red logo. You must have seen that. So HDFC Limited, although is a non-banking financial company, it lends, but it cannot take deposits. It cannot take time deposits. It cannot take, demand deposits. It can take time deposit. Time deposits are your fixed deposits, whether in Indian currency or a foreign currency, which is FCNR. But your demand deposits are the one, as in when you need the money, you can take them out or sort of give it back. So it's all your savings and current account, they come under the category of demand deposits, whereas there is a contract between after how much time you will break the amount, take the amount that is called a fixed deposit or a time deposit. You still can break the time deposit, but then you need to pay the penalty for it, for which saving or current account में आपको penalty नहीं pay करनी पड़ती for withdrawal of money. So insurance, you can see this slide, but the most important point about this slide is the one in the middle, which is how big was LIC. So when LIC was being nationalized, that means when it came under the purview of Government of India in 1956, at that point of time, close to 245 Indian and foreign insurers, they got merged to become a single entity. Now you can see the size and scale of what what LIC is. So finally, government gave a nod to have a private participation in insurance, and that is why foreign direct investment up to the 26% was allowed in 2000, and this got increased to 49% in 2014. So ICICI had a tie-up with Prudential of UK, England. HDFC Bank had a tie-up with Standard Life of South Africa. So Bajaj had a tie-up with Allianz of Germany. So these tie-ups, they started making up, and today they've got a sizable portion as far as market is concerned. So like a Reserve Bank of India, you have a watchdog by the name of Insurance and Regulatory Development Authority, which again is a sort of a body similar to a Reserve Bank of India for a bank. But the key thing to understand out here is that in order to participate in insurance industry or to sell its product, you need to have a certification. And this getting certification is so simple that even if you prepare for a month or two, you'll be able to crack the IRDA exam. But the key thing to understand is that please crack for both life as well as general insurance. This is a typical market share of insurance companies. So this is a verified one. That's why I have this figure till 2017 and 18. You can still see almost 70% is being occupied by LIC. This is phenomenal. Then you have general insurance companies, or so-called non-life insurance companies. So everything from your health insurance to your travel insurance, motor insurance, that means your car insurance, marine insurance, the shipping, and in fact your homes also. So everything is now being covered. You have various kind of GIs. So how to become an officer to a general manager in 15 years? The most important thing is to do a post-graduation from the top 10 management institutes of India. Now, if you could see the first column, you have Indian Institute of Management, 20 of them. As a student of North Campus, I would rather say, please concentrate on the first 6 IIMs. That is first thing. Also, you can look at the second column, which are the non-IIMs. Friends, let me make it very clear to you. Banking has as an absorption across many sectors for many profiles. So when you do an MBA, you primarily do 5 things, which is first is study 5 things. First is a marketing. Second is a finance. Third is the human resource management. Fourth is operations. And fifth one is the IT operations or systems. These are the major 5 specializations as far as the management is concerned. Now, banking as a sector, it has an absorption for all the 5 profiles. As a marketer, you can do really well as a relationship manager or investment banking managers or wealth managers by taking marketing as a specialization. Number 1. Number 2, if you take finance as a specialization, you are usually absorbed in the treasury department or the credit department or an audit department of a bank. Number 3, if you take HR as a specialization, you are usually absorbed in the compensation benchmarking, recruitment, and training and development function of a bank. Number 4, if you have taken operations as a profile, you are a natural choice for a bank. Number 5, if you take IT or systems as a specialization in MBA, the entire IT architecture of a bank is supposed to be the most foolproof. The kind of technology is being used as far as banking operations is concerned is of the first degree, my dear friends. They never compromise on it. Hence, it hires the best of the IT talent, whether at a graduate level or whether at a management level. So banking as a sector has an absorption for all 5 major specializations. And that is why you will see in all the business schools that I mentioned, agar aap inki website pe bhi jayenge, the major recruiters that come for placements in all these business schools, most of them are either the banking companies or the investment banking companies. So ensure that in case you're looking forward to a career in banking, you actually target these colleges. I've actually, no, as far as this slide is concerned, I've covered this. The last thing that you see is actuarial sciences, which has its applications in insurance sector. So you have various entrance examinations for preparing for MBA. First is a common admission test, and Xavier aptitude test, Maharashtra common entrance test, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade test, which is in Delhi, Qutub Institution area, one of the top 10 colleges of India, the Nursing Munji admission test, Symbiosis National Aptitude Program for Symbiosis set of institutions. CAT itself, many institute comes under the purview of CAT. The prominent among being, which is after IIMS, is the one which is not even kilometer from your college, which is Faculty of Management Studies, bang next to the Kirodimal College. It's one of the finest colleges for marketing as well as financial services concerned. So guys, are you ready? I'm through with my presentation, short presentation. I'm open to questions, queries. Just in case you have any query, just ask me. You can either ask straight away or you can put it on the chat box. अरे गगन, अगर बंद करना है अभी तो पहले ही बोल दो. Jokes apart, I really like your compliment. Thank you so much. But it's just that I want, if there is any question, you let me know. Or if you are feeling shy enough कि अभी कोई question नहीं है, कोई issue नहीं है. It's just that Amardeep will forward my number, and if any questions. Oh, why some people of banks help in scams? Wow, what a question. चलो एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूं मैं आपको. In the year 2006, my dear friends, no, 2006-7, right? बहुत केस हैं. मतलब अगर there are two cases that I want to discuss with you. See, money has a big lure, man. Money, there's a big lure. There's no end to greed. My dear friend, अगर एकदम से खूब पैसा सामने आ जाए ना, आप कोई भी नॉर्मल बंदा घबरा सकता है, राइट? अब डिपेंड करता है हाउ यू रिएक्ट टू इट. लेट मी टेल यू, as a banker, I've seen demonetization, right? So for me, it was very normal that our entire branch used to count between 5 CR to 8 CR every day for initially 16 to 20 days, when the customers came with a huge sum of money. 500,000 के notes लेके आते तो हमारे लिए बहुत normal था. Also, every year we used to visit the vault, take out the money, for the banking operations, and then keep it again back. So it's the way how you react to, such that is very important. That is why I'm saying a banker's mindset is a very no-nonsense guy. He's a very emotionless person. For us, everything is a transaction. I'll come Aryani Dogra, I'll what the NPV and everything, time value and everything. But let me answer this very good question, because this is not just a question pertaining to banking, but it's sort of philosophy also. There is a place called Jagrao in Punjab, right? In the year 2005-6, a malpractice used to happen over there. क्या होता था? पूरा branch का staff involved था. They used to take out the entire money. I'll not name that private bank. I'll not name that private bank. वो पूरा का पूरा पैसा निकालते थे और उसको बाहर सट्टे में बाजार में लगाते थे, बेटिंग. और जो भी प्रॉफिट आता था आपस में बांट के, बाकी सारा पैसा शाम को वॉल्ट में चले जाता था, राइट? ये सब चलता रहा till the moment a newcomer came and she actually blew the whistle. And this continuously happened for good 18 months, right? Another case, this is now the case which had a very serious implications. In the year 2006-7, again, Bank of Baroda staff, 16 people were involved in a forex scam. प्रोडक्ट पैसा भेजा जाता था हवाला के नाम पे चाइना सारा, ठीक है, दिखाते थे कि काजू की ट्रेडिंग का पैसा है, लेकिन होता कुछ नहीं था. सो इफ अगर आपने कभी भी MOA किसी कंपनी का देखा होगा, नो, फर्स्ट पेज ऑफ MOA स्टेट्स द स्फीयर और द एरिया इन विच दैट कंपनी ऑपरेट्स. अगर आप उसको नजरअंदाज करोगे, आपने फॉरेक्स ट्रांजैक्शन लेके कोई क्लाइंट आपकी ब्रांच में आया, ठीक है, वो कहता है कि मेरे को ये पैसा भेजना है और ये सारा जो काम है ये काजू की ट्रेडिंग का पैसा है, मैंने काजू मंगवाए थे तो उसका पैसा मैं बाहर भेज रहा हूँ, ठीक है, आपने कर दिया, लेकिन आपने उसका MOA या तो पढ़ा नहीं या आपने उसको इग्नोर कर दिया, या उसने आपको पैसे दिए कि यार ये पैसा भिजवाना है, बस तू मेरे को ये भिजवा दे, बाकी चीजें इग्नोर कर देना. अब आप देखो इसमें इंटीग्रिटी पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया स्टाफ ने, ठीक है. तो मनी का ल्योर बहुत तगड़ा होता है, जो किकबैक्स मिलते हैं बहुत होते हैं, बट दीज आर लाइक 5 to 6% ऑफ द पीपल जो नाम गंदा रखते हैं. और लास्ट में यही बोलूंगा, चादर जितनी सफेद होती है ना, तो उसमें एक छोटा सा स्पॉट दिखाई देता है. तो बैंकिंग एज अ प्रोफेशन एक सफेद चादर, इट्स अ वाइट शीट, एवरी ब्लैक स्पॉट विल बी लाइक इमीडिएटली निकल के आएगी. कोई और इंडस्ट्री हो उसमें कितना कुछ होता हो चलता है, बट बैंकिंग हो जाए तो जल्दी नजर आता है. तो वो 3 से 4% लोग ही होते हैं, लेकिन है तो है, और ये हर जगह है, इस पे आपका कंट्रोल नहीं है. इंडोर मैनेजमेंट कैन एक्सप्लेन एम्बिएंट टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी. क्या जानना चाहते हैं आप आर्यानी टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी में, बताइए. एज अ कंसेप्ट आप क्या जानना चाहते हैं इसमें? See, let me explain you with a way of you know, that paradox. For example, you every commodity or every product or any entity has its value till certain extent, right? Beyond which there is a tipping point जब उसकी उतनी value नहीं रहती है किसी particular economy में. Now, for example, there is an absorption of diamond industry as far as selling of diamond is concerned in India. There is a point at which it can grow, but beyond which it can never grow. It's despite the fact कि आप उसमें कितना भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कर लो, कितना भी आप उसमें जोर लगा दो कस्टमर कन्विंस करने के लिए, लेकिन उसके बियॉन्ड नहीं हो पाएगा. ना वो कितने टाइम आप उसमें इन्वेस्ट करते हो, कितना पैसा लगाते हो, कितना एफर्ट लगाते हो, दैट कम्स अंडर दैट कंसेप्ट. Yes. So that's the thing. I would request convener or Amar, if you are investment opportunities nowadays. Gagan, I'll charge for that. Okay, jokes apart. Investment opportunities nowadays. Gagan, एक rule है industry का, as far as banking or investment is concerned. Don't put all your eggs under one basket. I had one very good friend of mine who had a very strong debate with me in the year 2010 when the real estate sector was booming like hell. So we had a great discussion which eventually turned into an argument because he was hell bent on convincing me that real estate is the thing. I told him at that point of time also कि boss अगर 100 रुपया है 100 में से 20 इसमें होना चाहिए. तो मैं आपको थोड़ा बता देता हूँ. Usually thumb rule says that 20% real estate, your investment 20 to 30%, at least 25 to 30% in banks as a liquid money, right? Next is the bonds, which is another 20%, and 10 to 15% in mutual funds. And अगर पैसा ज़्यादा नहीं है mutual funds में करना ही करना है तो systematic investment plans, so that you're always on the safer side. And please, if you are venturing into the stock market, don't go for don't go for any funds apart from, I would rather say, equity funds, because objective stock market में जाने का wealth creation का है. Wealth creation आपको aggressive stocks ही दे सकते हैं, equity stocks ही दे सकते हैं, right? So liquid funds आपको investment पैसा नहीं बना के दे सकते. How to put money in stock market? आर्यानी बहुत सिंपल देता हूँ. एक छोटा सा कोर्स कर लो. चैट बॉक्स में आप सबके लिए डाल रहा हूँ मैं. आप सब ना NSE की वेबसाइट में एक चीज फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट अवेलेबल है स्टूडेंट्स के लिए नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में. वो है नेशनल स्टॉक एक्सचेंज का सिमुलेटेड मार्केट ट्रेडिंग. ये फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट अवेलेबल है सिर्फ स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. तो उसकी वेबसाइट पे जाके आप ये करो तो वो आपको वर्चुअल मनी देंगे. आप रियल टाइम बेस पे स्टॉक मार्केट पे पैसा लगाओगे. उससे पहले आपको कुछ कंसेप्ट्स भी सिखाएंगे हाउ टू गो अबाउट इट एंड देन दे गिव यू वर्चुअल मनी. So like the stock market starts at 9 o'clock and ends at 4 o'clock. So you will be through that virtual money, you'll be playing around. So it's like a PUBG, you know, it's like a PUBG for a budding investment banker. So you need not put the real money. आपको पैसे खोने का डर नहीं है अपने पेरेंट्स के या आपके जो भी है, बट आप काफी कुछ सीख जाओगे थोड़ा. बट PUBG में आप असली लड़ाई में नहीं लड़ते हो. यहाँ पर आप असली लड़ाई में लड़ोगे स्टॉक मार्केट की डे टू डे बेस पे. तो ये आपको सिखा देगा. This is a thing which is very well available in the internet free of cost. Use it. What is the requirement of management trainee in a bank? Radhika, लगता है आपने वो सुना नहीं मेरा स्लाइड का, तो मैं for the benefit of everyone बता देता हूँ. मैनेजमेंट के 5 फंक्शन होते हैं. राधिका, मैनेजमेंट के 5 फंक्शन होते हैं. फर्स्ट इज अ मार्केटिंग, सेकंड इज अ फाइनेंस, थर्ड इज अ HR, फोर्थ इज ऑपरेशंस एंड फिफ्थ वन इज सिस्टम्स. जो मार्केटिंग फंक्शन होता है फॉर ऑल द पीपल दैट यू सी एज रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर्स और इन होलसेल बैंकिंग और वेल्थ मैनेजर्स, दे ऑल कम have studied marketing as a management trainee as in their management, and they join as a management trainee in these functions. For all the people who are either CA or who have done specialization in finance in MBA, they join the credit department or the treasury department and in the wholesale banking also to some extent. Then and also in the asset liability management department of the bank, which is a very critical function. The people who have done HR as a specialization in MBA, they join in the training and development. They also join as a recruitment. They are also responsible for devising the compensation structure for all the employees. So it's a huge task as a HR manager in a bank. Number 4, operations. So if you have done specialization in operation, you are a natural choice for banking operations, let me tell you. Also, even if you have done specialization in information technology or systems in your MBA, then you will be the part of the team, or you'll be leading the team of managing the entire information technology architecture, or you call it the ERP of that particular bank. This is the most critical thing, right? So management trainee in 5 जगहों में जा सकता है banking की. So banking has an absorption across spectrum. So I hope any more questions? I think we are through. Very sorry guys, सबको Sunday वाले दिन disturb किया, but I'm sure there was a little takeaway whatever you've got from this session, and wish you all very best. Be safe in your homes, and I didn't mention COVID word till now, till the moment I mentioned it. So I deliberately chose not to use it because I think you guys, and as for me also, considered a बहुत हो गया. ठीक है? Okay, bye everyone. In case there aren't any more questions, I bye to everyone. You may take it from here. Thanks Amar for organizing this. Thanks Gagan. Thank you Gagan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.